Right then, it is preview time. Manchester United face West Brom at Old Trafford tomorrow, and I actually think it's a very winnable game for Manchester United. Why is that a nightmare, Steve? I'll tell you why it's a nightmare, because we've not been great at Old Trafford of late, and we've not been great when we've been expected to turn up and absolutely trounce somebody. United are better when the pressure is on, and I don't think the pressure is on in this game. I think West Brom are a very beatable side. They currently lie 18th in the Premier League table and have been losing and drawing all over the show and not been scoring a hell of a lot of goals in the process too. Slaven Bilic likes to line up in the 4-1-4-1 formation. He's used that in probably half of the Premier League games so far this season, and a 5 at the back in the other half. Notably, though, the 5 at the back in that other half of the games has come against the more dangerous sides. That's your Tottenham, your Chelsea, your Leicester, your Everton. So definitely expect that to be used tomorrow at Old Trafford. I would expect Sam Johnson, United's academy graduate goalkeeper, to be in goal. Branislav Ivanovic is a slight doubt due to a COVID-19 outbreak at the club before international break. Semi Ajayi, Kyle Bartley and Dara O'Shea should start in central defence. Daniel Furlong and Connor Townsend will provide extra width at wing-back, playing behind the dangerous duo of Matheus Pereira and Grady Diangana on the right and left, respectively. Jake Livermore has been an ever-present for them in central midfield this season, and he'll be partnered by Romain Sawyers and Conor Gallagher, I expect. With Callum Robinson testing positive for COVID-19, Karlan Grant will pose a threat as the sole striker. The star man for West Brom is going to be Matheus Pereira. He missed West Brom's last game against Tottenham after testing positive for COVID, but the international break should have given him enough time to isolate and recover. There's no doubt that Pereira is West Brom's danger man. He has all the ability to cause United serious problems on that right flank. With Luke Shaw out, and I think it will be Tellez, looking at the fact that he's now given the green light, but a lot can change. Well, a lot can change, let's be real, can't it? So I think it'll probably be Tellez, but Tellez is going to have to mind his P's and Q's. He's a very offensive fullback, and I think someone like Pereira could cause him a bit of trouble in behind if he gets a little bit sloppy. Pereira's been directly involved in 3 of West Brom's 6 Premier League goals so far this season. He scored 1, got 2 assists. In the 7 appearances, he's created 8 chances, averaging 1.14 per 90 minutes in both the key passes and completed dribble metric. West Brom are not the most dangerous side, admittedly, but Pereira has enough quality to punish United if United make mistakes, and this is where I expect United to make some mistakes. West Brom are dangerous at set pieces. That's something that we've been poor at for a long time, seemingly, but West Brom are pretty good at set pieces, and it's a standout aspect of their game. Pereira's pinpoint delivery from dead ball situations. West Brom have managed to get 18 goals from set pieces when they were in the Championship last season. Ajayi, O'Shea and Bartley all pose a major threat in those situations. They got 10 goals between them from corners and wide free kicks last season. The 3 defenders start all in a bit of a similar position in a tight little cluster, and then they bomb burst out looking for the space to try and exploit. We're going to have to put some big men on them to make this threat go away, and I hope Lindelof isn't one of them, because that's where I can see United getting caught out. United need to be alert, otherwise we can certainly get caught off guard in this. The other thing that we've got to look for is explosive attacks. Now, they don't really park the bus. I think that'd be very unfair, and I'll get into the full details of that when I give my team sheet, because they don't get everybody behind the ball, but they do sort of get a little compact and try and hit you on the break. Bilic has changed the way that West Brom play in the Championship. They netted 77 goals across the whole campaign, which was the joint second best alongside Brentford. They aim to tighten the space when they're defending, and they win the ball back. They don't necessarily burst into a counter-attack that the way a lot of teams that are playing in low blocks do. Instead, they seem to patiently pass the ball around quite well, actually, for a team in this sort of predicament that they find themselves in, using a number of personnel that they've got in their own half until they're certain of an opportunity to break. I don't know if that's trying to prevent them being countered. I'm not sure what the reason for it is, but once they do find a clear opening, or once they've decided that there's a certain trigger that they're going to use, they go for it. Commonly, they'll go through the wings. That'll be Pereira and Diangana. They'll explode forward, and when they strike, both wingers and probably one central midfielder will look to try and exploit. Now, if United are playing a high line, that's where the opportunity for them to come in and get in behind us sits, and Maguire probably has to be very wary in this situation because I think he'll be the one that they'll want to target. They'll want to try and target Lindelof in the air, and they'll want to try and target Maguire if he roams 40, 50 yard up the pitch towards the halfway line. Livermore tends to play a little bit more of a reserve role in the midfield, so I think it'll be the likes of Kravinovic and Sawyers that are probably going to try and get forward with the attacks. Now let's have a look at United's 11. Here's what I'm going for in this instance. The notable absentee is Marcus Rashford. I've gone with Tony Marshall on the left with Cavani up front. The reason for that is I don't think Marcus is fit. I think the shoulder injury that kept him off England duty is not yet healed, and I don't want to see him brought back in too quickly. The problem is I actually do think he'll probably play, but I wouldn't expect much out of him if he does because I think he's still a way off being fit just yet. But let's start at the back. David De Gea in net, obviously, and I think it'll be a back four of Wan-Bissaka, and he's got a tough job keeping Diangana quiet. Lindelof and Maguire will be the two preferred at centre-half. I don't think the time is right yet to be bringing in someone like Tuanzebe. Tellez, the notable difference there at left-back, and what we're looking for from Tellez is Tellez to get forward into the final third and start delivering in some crosses for Cavani to get on the end of. Tony Marshall, if he does start on the left because Marcus Rashford isn't playing, then I would expect him to be getting alongside and getting into the box or going direct in from a wide area like that. I think Bruno is going to be what Bruno is, which is a number 10, which has got the license to get anywhere he needs to across the field. Greenwood on the right-hand side, I would expect him to be coming on that left foot, getting shots off, finding some opportunities in between the lines, and hopefully putting some of this nonsense that's been in the press behind him by just being good at football like we know he can be. Fred and McTominay have got a very, very important job in this team. And the important job that these guys have got in this team is to stop those attacks before they start, because that is the two major things that you're looking at for West Brom to attack and beat United with. Is first and foremost is that sort of blistering counter-attack. When it comes, they're going to probably go in through the wings, which is why Fred and McTominay need to be able to cover their zones alongside the fullbacks, getting them into the areas there and prevent them. If United are going to push both fullbacks up, and hopefully they don't, hopefully it's probably only Tellez that goes forward, which means only Fred needs to come out on that left-hand side and cover. McTominay can sit in if need be, if they come across the middle. But that's where United needs to be careful. And those two, or potentially Matic if he plays, will be very, very important to that. Offensively, I think that Cavani's got to be the man that we're looking for with our crosses. And interestingly, in the 4-1-4-1 that West Brom play, or even in their 5 at the back, there's a weird amount of space in front of the defence and behind the midfield. And that, for me, is where Bruno, Greenwood and Cavani can exploit. Cavani, if he uses his nous, gets link-up play involved, Tony Marshall runs beyond, Greenwood runs beyond, we'll have them all at 6s and 7s because their defence isn't tight, it isn't necessarily compact, and it isn't impenetrable. It's actually weirdly open. Hopefully we see that tomorrow, but it's weirdly open. I think there's space for us there to exploit. I think Bruno is probably going to have a field day, but I'll be very interested to see if Cavani starts, how he gets on in this formation. That obviously means Pogba's going to be on the bench. That means Van der Beek is going to be on the bench, and I would expect those to feature at some point as well. And if Marcus Rashford doesn't start, he will be on the bench. Hopefully he doesn't come on, but if he does come on, I would expect something from Marcus Rashford as well. I think Marcus coming on against a tired West Brom defence, probably not very fair on them, but I don't care. Big 3 points for Manchester United needed in this game. Right then, the Patreon group has given us a load of questions for the game. Let's get into those. If we win, are we going for a title charge? Behave. Although it'd be very interesting to see how Liverpool cope, won't it, this weekend with how it's going to be going down. Do I think the performances during international break will affect selection? I don't think so. International football is so slow. I don't think it's a massive issue whatsoever. West Brom are on their worst opening season run for 34 years. Am I surprised they haven't picked up one win yet? Yeah, a little bit, but they've also been pretty poor. Like, I've enjoyed watching. I mean, I have actually enjoyed watching them because I've been going, oh my God, defensively, they're shocking. They are shocking defensively, and that's the worry, I think, for teams that come up and aren't defensively good. There was a good attacking team, but it is a defence. People always go, it's the lack of goals that'll send you down. It is, but it's also a lack of defending as well. And at this level, you have to have a decent defence. Otherwise, you're going to get torn to pieces. If we lose, is it Southgate in? Behave. Do I rate Slaven Bilic as a manager? He's impressed me as a pundit, but his record hasn't been very good since leaving a Croatia job in 2012. I haven't seen anything from him to think he's worthy of it at the moment. And even though I think getting out of the Championship is graft, no, I would say at the moment. I mentioned Greenwood getting a psychologist, which is a brilliant idea. Did I? I didn't say that. However, given everything, how should Ole approach it? He needs a winger of Greenwood's ability, but also needs to have a duty of pastoral care with his players. Do we play Greenwood and let him prove everyone wrong, or do we leave him out and nurture him behind closed doors as we should with a player of his age? He's been out of the squad recently, hasn't he? So maybe he's already been doing that, and maybe he is ready to come back into the starting 11. And I actually think United need him. And unfortunately, I think the needs of the team probably outweighs the needs of the player. You can debate the right and wrongs on that, but I do think that's the case, and I do think he'll probably play. But I think that leaving him out would potentially cause even more of a furore, whereas if you play him and he scores, that's all everyone's going to focus on. But it is a risk. There's no two ways around it. At this point, do I think anyone has solidified a starting role as a defensive midfielder? What do I think the overall pecking order is in that position? I think Fred's done very well at the moment in terms of solidifying his place in there. Not too sure on McTominay in that role, but I don't think Fred could do it on his own in that single pivot. I think Matic could potentially do it on his own, but I think both Fred and McTominay just lack a little bit of overall quality to be able to go and do it on their own in that role full time. Well, that's it from me for this week. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. And if you're looking for some Christmas presents, you can get this hat. There's also a load of new mugs, scarves, and all sorts of stuff in the Stretford Paddock FC store. Link for that is in the description. And if you'd like to get involved with the questions and some extra content behind the scenes and all sorts of other stuff, then a Patreon group might be for you. Check the link in the description for that as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Laters.